Good evening, everybody, and welcome to CW Live. My name's Chris Webb, Head of Communications at the CW. Delighted to have with me tonight our General Secretary, Dave Ward. Evening, Dave.
Evening. Hi, everyone.
And our Acting Deputy General Secretary, Poster, Andy Fury. Evening, Andy.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you.
So, obviously, a little bit more important than even Dave and Andy is all of you. So, brilliant. Keep sharing, keep tagging your colleagues, keep making sure that thousands and thousands of people come online. We know it's a Friday night, so we know you've probably got much better things to do, much more enjoyable things to do than to listen to us free for the next 40 minutes or so. So we're going to try and make it as informative as possible, and we're going to try and make it as sharp as possible. What we also want to do tonight is something a little bit different. We've been coming on and talking to you about strike action. We've been talking to you about negotiations. We've been talking to you about the ballot. We want to do all three tonight, so you start to piece things together. We start to piece things together to show that it is an overall strategy to apply maximum pressure on the union. So this session is going to run in three segments. First of all, we're going to talk about the strike action that's been called from 12:30, all duties commencing after 12:30 on the 16th for 24 hours. Then we're going to talk about the negotiations that have been taking place with the company. And we're going to finish on probably the most crucial of all three issues, the need to deliver the massive yes vote and return in the ongoing National Industrial Action ballot. So that's the format of the session. You're going to get loads and loads of information. And I get a chance to go back and forth with Dave and Andy. But would you let us know where you're watching from? Let us know how long you've been a union member. Let us know, importantly, because we know Messrs. Thompson, McPherson et al. Will be in the session. We'll be watching it live. Let them know that you still back your union. So I'm with my union in the comments now, alongside letting us know where you're watching from. Whilst you do that, I'm going to ask Dave to set the scene, and Dave, in setting the scene, introduce the first section as well as that, which is, why we have called that day's strike action. Please, over to you, Dave.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming on as ever. Thanks for your continuing support. And, let me first of all sort of reflect on where we are overall in this dispute, because it's been a long dispute. It's been a bitter dispute, and the pressure is on our members in the workplace. We completely understand that, but never forget the pressure on Royal Mail that we're applying through all of the various ballots that we've had, the strike actions that we've called, is also massive. And, this is about us reaching an agreement. That's what the objective is. But I want to touch on one or two things why, it's clearly such a difficult dispute. First of all, we got to remember here, and I'm sure you do, go back to those early days of the proposals that Royal Mail put in front of you. And, there was no doubt that was about destroying your job. That was about making sure that they could bring in a new resourcing model, a new workforce to replace our existing members. And it was also about changing the whole basis of Royal Mail as we know it. What these people want to do is to get to a position where the daily deliveries that you do, all of the various infrastructure that supports that across Royal Mail and in ParcelForce, all of that work, they want to move that to a model that is the same as what you see on the street in terms of DPD. They're not really interested in using their infrastructure to build and grow the business. It's about getting down to the point of where they compete on the lowest possible common denominators with the competitors. And we can simply never have that. And we know that, some of the changes that Royal Mail are taking place now with executive action are difficult for our members, but it will get worse if we don't win this dispute. And so therefore, let me move into one or two of the points that we picked up the other day when we give a short sort of explanation that we were taking the 24-hour strike action on the 16th and across the 17th of February. Some comments come through because I said, an act of bad faith by the CEO, Simon Thompson. And people were sort of suggesting, well, did we not expect that? Did we fall for that? Look, we don't trust the CEO. We don't trust Royal Mail. We don't trust any managers. That is why we're a trade union. If you trusted these people to do the right thing for the workforce and for customers rather than just themselves, then trade unions, not just in our industry, wouldn't exist. So don't anybody ever believe that this is about us trust in them. Let me move to the point now about we have to do business with the people that are sitting in front of us. And people talk about the CEO, and it's clear that he's lost all confidence in the workforce and lost confidence in him. I don't see, how how he comes out of this in the same place he's in now. Let me say to you that we had a really good meeting with the shareholders the other week, and that was a private meeting, but there was some significant shareholders came to that meeting, and it's quite clear that they don't believe that the CEO of Royal Mail at the moment is actually somebody who should be leading this company. What they probably will want to understand more of, and we was really strong in putting across our views on the strategy of the business, why it's not the right strategy. They want a return on their investment, and we made it clear to them that that's not going to happen if we can't find an agreement. So let's hope that's put the pressure back on the CEO. We believe it has. You've also seen the select committee stuff that's gone on, and the select committee stuff, the CEO and the chair of the company, and the chair of the company needs to be put in front of the select committee as well. They've been recalled, Royal Mail, because the select committee, remember, this is politicians from all parties, not just the Labour Party, were unanimously not happy with what they said. And some of those things have helped us in some of the talks that we've been having. We're going to come on to that. I think it's good that we're having a separate sort of breaking it down today. So look, it's a tough dispute. It always was going to be. Can I say this in the right spirit? It was never going to be about backlogs and mail winning this dispute. It was going to be about how much pressure we can apply to the company so that industrially, politically, with the shareholders, with the public, that the company realised that the best thing of all to do is reach an agreement. And we're going to take you through where we are with some of the talks and all the talks effectively shortly. But we felt it was absolutely necessary to call the strike action next week. We know that people have different views on that in the sense of we picked up a lot of people are saying, well, why didn't we have, more strike action? Why did we pause the strike action? Well, it's back to what I said earlier on. You've got to judge this overall, and there's not going to be a single knockout blow. It's going to be a combination of all these things that we're doing. And the executive action that's taking place has wider implications. And that's why, as well as supporting and trying to defend our members and move Royal Mail from that position, the wider implications of that, unquestionably, are that what Royal Mail is signalling with executive action, let alone the changes that they want to bring in, is that they want to remove your voice, your local rep's voice, from the workplace. And we can't accept that. So it was right to call that strike action. We think that we've got, obviously coming behind that, we're going to talk about that as well, we've got the second ballot. And that's the game changer here. And it will be, and we'll talk in more detail about what we need you to do to get us across the line on that ballot in a massive yes vote and a massive turnout. We can see signs that you're already doing that, but we want you to go further on that. So look, the strike action was in response to managerial executive action. Once again, Royal Mail said one thing and are doing the opposite. But why are they doing it as well? They're doing it to demoralise our members. They're doing it to get, people to turn inward on the union. And the only way you answer that is by showing them that you are more determined than ever. They are the wrong people in here in what they're doing. And that's why it's really important that we support that strike action. But let me say this, we've also made it clear to Royal Mail, we are up for calling that off. All they got to do is take the pressure off of our members on the front line and start talking more reasonably about how some of these revisions to address volume decline can be dealt with in a fair-minded way. So look, that's the situation with a strike action. That's why we called it, and we want you to support that as you have all of the other strike action. In the meantime, we'll be trying to move the dispute forward. And I'm looking forward to having a chat in a minute about where we are with the talks.
Muted. I should know better than unmute myself. Let me come to you, Andy, if I can, straight away. There's quite a few questions in the comments, and it was going to be my first one to you anyway, based on what I've seen since the announcement. But a lot of our members are asking a couple of questions. What is the thinking behind the date, the timing of the strike action we called 12:30? Does that mean that I have to walk out of my shift halfway through? Does it mean that I cut off my delivery, for example? Is one element of the question. Second question, which has been coming through, is why another 24-hour strike? And so if you could pick those two up, that'd be brilliant and useful, buddy.
Considered naming the date for further strike action had to take into account that firstly we'd given Royal Mail the chance to resolve this. We put a document to Royal Mail that would have ensured local negotiations on the revision and the full use of the Industrial Relations Framework Agreement. We also accepted that these revisions would take place at pace and would be in before the start of the new financial year. Royal Mail chose to reject that proposition and carry on regardless with their imposition, their executive action. And therefore, we were left with a situation where we had no choice but to take action. And the reason for that is that this is tantamount to de-recognition of your local union officials and your voice in the workplace. And this union's proud tradition is that we have always negotiated locally. We've always had the right to have influence over attendance patterns, duties, anything to do with the work in the day. And we've got to ensure that continues in the future. So Dave says there's wider implications here, and he's right. If the employer can impose revisions at this scale, they'd get away with it once, then they keep on doing it. So look, I would say to the members, if you're angry and frustrated about what's happening in the workplace and what the management are doing to you, turn that anger and frustration back onto management by voting yes and coming out on strike. Now, in terms of the direct question, Chris, why the timing? So we've bookended two key features here. One, the ballot closes on the 16th at midday. So we didn't want to do anything that interfered with that ballot. We got to ensure that the deliveries to the independent scrutineer is delivered on time so that every single vote counts and can be included. So the strike action takes place after that 12 o'clock, hence it's 12:30. The other thing is that the current ballot on change expires at the end of the 17th at midnight on the 17th of February. So we had a very small window to take action. So what we've done is we bookended the strike in between the ballot closing and the last day for us to take strike action. And if we didn't take strike action on the 16th and 17th, we wouldn't be able to do so until very early March because the next ballot, you have to give 2 weeks notice for strike action. So there's a clear strategy here. There's a plan here. But as Dave says, if Royal Mail come back round the negotiating table and see sense and embrace our proposition that we put to them in good faith and in all sincerity of trying to resolve the issue of executive action, then we can call off that action. The post-executive would be prepared to make that decision if we make that progress. I finish on this point, Chris, that the strike we've called is not just about imposition, executive action and the revisions and everything else that's going on there. And that's across, obviously, deliveries, processing and parcels. But it's also about all the issues that our members went out on strike on the 23rd and 24th of December. Those issues are still in dispute. The pay, the major change and everything else are all there, still on the table. The only material change the employers made is to a few allowances, the RIS payments, TPM payments, and the Sunday allowance for those people working Sundays as part of their scheduled duty. So all the anger that you had on the 23rd and 24th, the frustration and the determination to take on the employer, that needs to be replicated again on the 16th or 17th of February if we can't get a way forward between now and then.
Thank you, Andy. Spot on, buddy. Dave, a lot of comments, people asking if you're drinking Iron Brew. I don't know if it is the case there. You are, yeah. Pleasing to our Scottish membership, particularly, I think it's been. Dave, loads of people in the comments. I mean, and I guess, Andy's just gone through it. You've gone through it as well. Talking about, what's going on in the workplace, the suspension of reps and members, the executive action that's taking place, the attacks on, frontline people, the lapse in delivery office. We've had ParcelForce members reporting to us today that they're being told, if you vote for strike action and go on strike action, ParcelForce will be closed down, for example. So the levels of intimidation are at a height that we've never really even experienced before, even in previous disputes. They're off the scale, really. And they are also, I think you could probably say, a sign of desperation from the employer. But nonetheless, there's a lot of pressure, Dave. And people are hoping and they're asking basically, is this action going to alleviate some of that pressure, or is that what it's aimed at?
Well, it's definitely aimed at finding a way forward on the issues of executive action, but also, as Andy just said, on the whole question of the whole dispute. And Royal Mail got a couple of weeks here, and the level of intimidation, before the strike, we make progress, well, then we'll call the strike off. But the situation with intimidation is at a level that none of us have ever seen. That's why often when, we do interviews, you see me saying to media people that, this is a brutal attack. And what I'd say to you is a lot of these managers over the years who have never been good managers only know one way of managing, which is, to try and intimidate people. They've been let off the leash by the top of the company. And those people now need to be held to account about these actions. So, I'm certain that once, we get into that strike action, if we have to, there'll be further opportunities for us to expose what they're doing. But the members can do that as well. We sympathise completely with the way that Royal Mail are treating members. But, there are grievance procedures. There are, bullying harassment procedures. And there are things going on here that members individually have an absolute right to say to their employer, listen, this is not acceptable. What you're doing to me, the pressure you're putting me under, you're affecting my well-being. We know that's happening because we're getting members right in about that. But what we'd urge you to do, and we'll carry on trying to find solutions to the executive action, and I'll come on to that again as to some of the reasons why that's happening. What we'd urge you to do is to take that up with local managers, because you've got a genuine right to argue. The unions put out advice on this several times, and we put out an LTB last week to our branches and our reps that the members can access as well. You have a right to go to your manager and say, if you're going to change my attendance times, you need to give me notice of that. I've got a work-life balance as well, and you need to help me deal with that, not just intimidate me into doing it. All of that, what I'm saying is all of that puts that pressure back on the company. But there's no doubt about it, the biggest way to put that pressure back onto the company is to vote yes in the second ballot and to support the strike action if it needs to go ahead on the 16th and across the 17th. So, our position is we're doing everything possible. The union put a very simple statement to Royal Mail that would have enabled them and would have enabled our reps to engage properly, because we know that, we want to influence those revisions. And Royal Mail basically didn't want to address the issue of their savings targets. Why is that? Well, we've got to be totally honest about that, because the CEO went to the markets and said that he's getting rid of X thousand people. And he needs to be able to show by the end of when they come up to their financial accounts, the end of the year, that he's done that, or he's definitely gone. But look, the way we see it is you've got to turn that anger in on the management. You've got to turn that anger in on Royal Mail and talk about it in the way that puts the pressure back on them. We will do everything we can in the next 2 weeks to address that again in a realistic way. We do recognise volume has declined. Many of our members will be seeing that. So we've not said to Royal Mail that we won't do local revisions that are based on addressing volume decline. It's in all our interests that we do that. But we're not going to do that on the basis of no influence at local level, just accepting their plans. We can't do that. The principle of local negotiations is one that makes this union strong. That's why they're attacking it. So look, let's deal with that through the strike action by voting yes, through you putting grievances in where you feel that's the position that you've reached, and we'll come back to you on that as we progress in the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, Dave. Andy, I want to obviously move on to negotiations, but I've got one more question on the strikes for you. And by the way, you can see an absolutely overwhelming level of support for the strike action, support for the ballot. So thank you to everyone in the comments. It really does, it's brilliant to be seeing that level of support. So, again, the Royal Mail management will be watching. So simply put, I'll be on strike in the comments now, and I'll get as many of them up on screen as I possibly can. Andy, loads and loads of members, which is fantastic, are saying, we need our representative back. They're suspended. We're very worried about, how long it's been now. We've seen some colleagues across the country have even been moved to being dismissed. And it's not just our reps, obviously, it's activists, it's members that have supported the union during this strike. A message to those representatives and members who are suspended from you, Andy.
Well, look, first and foremost, we will never, ever let anybody down. We will defend everybody that we can. And to that end, this week we've had a meeting with management and we presented 3 documents to them about what we see as are the injustices. We haven't dealt with individual cases in this forum. It was about the trends of the lengthy suspensions, and some of these suspensions have gone on 8, 10, 12 weeks. So we pointed to the inconsistencies, we pointed to the unfairness, and we demonstrated that what they were doing is incorrect. We also highlighted the fact that that local managers are not able to make their own decisions, and they're being worked from the back, controlled from the group centre, and in some cases where people have been returned to work, decisions have been overturned by people elsewhere. So, third-party interference is completely not on. So, look, we're optimistic that we can now get some traction in this area and that we can start to make some progress. But, well, look, what's happened is absolutely disgraceful. Management should hang their heads in shame the way that they've treated their employees, our members, and we're not going to let them off the hook on this. The new ballot, an integral part of that in the heading, the cause of the reasons for the dispute is the fact that we are calling for justice for members, activists and reps who have been unfairly disciplined, suspended, etc. So the resolution to this new ballot, the outcome to the new ballot in terms of an agreement has to address these issues, and we are on that very much. We're also talking to our legal people about it to see what measures we can take, and we will support everybody in it should it come to dismissals, and unfortunately we have had some dismissals. We will also be supporting members in the employment tribunal, but we want to get a settlement and an outcome that we can say we've done fair, we've done right by people, and we supported our people, to supported the union and their workmates. That is an imperative, and we will do that to the very best of our ability. But it's another reason why members should vote yes in this new ballot.
Thank you, Andy. Spot on. Brilliant, buddy. Dave, I'm going to try and segue now nicely across, because obviously, we've got the strike action. That's a pressure point. Can see by the comments, the members overwhelmingly backing that position, understanding the points that Andy's made around it coming to the end of the ballot and our options being limited and the need for the yes vote to give us that extended mandate. People, I think, have really, really, really taken that on board and got that. But obviously, we're not here to strike. We're here to try and reach an agreement. And I think it's important now that yourself and Andy move to, talking about the negotiations. So, Dave, could you give an overview, if you like, to open up this part of the session?
Yeah, okay. So, look, these talks are complex. There's so many subjects that are involved in the talks, and we've got a full negotiating team. We have meetings, obviously, with the senior leaders, but at the same time, in order to deal with some of the detail of the talks and of some of Royal Mail's changes, how we're trying to persuade them that they're not the right changes at this point in time. We have a full team that meet their relevant managers, and the combination of both of those things, this is definitely where we are. We are moving them backwards on a number of the issues that they've put forward to you previously. And we can visualize and see what an agreement looks like now. We can see that from the point of view of the need for change. So we know there needs to be change. We've never hidden away from that. And it's in our interest to change, providing that's done in the right way. So we are getting increasingly confident that we can reach an agreement that aligns the interests of our members with customers and, gives the company a chance to succeed in the future. So let's go through one or two of the issues, and then we're really interested to hear your views on what are the big issues for you still. And there'll be different members in different groups on that, but let's talk about that. First of all, on job security, absolutely fundamental to the future for our members to know that, there's going to be no compulsory redundancies. There will be voluntary redundancies. We want better terms. But, at the moment, our focus is on the members who want to remain in a job. You've already heard the company say no compulsory redundancies. And what we've been doing in the talks is we've been taking that commitment that they've made and running that down into all of the areas of the talks. And what is quite clear now is that if they want to honour that commitment, and remember, 9 of the senior directors of the business wrote that letter, not just Simon Thompson, then it will change their plans. And it will enable us, we believe, to get an agreement that minimises the impact on our members in a number of areas. So what we're focusing on at the moment in the talks, in terms of making sure that we get the best possible job security agreement, is not just no compulsory redundancies, but we want to minimise the impact of owner-drivers, self-employed, and alternative resourcing model. And we believe that we've put Royal Mail under enormous pressure on that point, because their argument don't stack up. You can't give no compulsory redundancies and at the same time bring in an alternative resourcing model. And you saw the pressure, if those of you who watched it, that Simon Thompson, the CEO, was under on that question in the select committee about fire and rehire. So we're pushing them back on that area. And on that, we're pushing back the issue of new entrants coming in on lower terms and conditions. It's quite clear that one of the things that will help that is that we want our members to do the work. So in a sense of change, we already committed to a 24/7 network, because that's about growing the business. And we want to be in a place here where we grow the business, diversify the products and services, but also grow the parcel market. And, what we're saying to them is we believe our members will follow the work, providing that's done in a way with good terms and conditions and reasonable. Those who need to move or may want to move is the better expression, onto an afternoon shift on dedicated parcels. We believe there'll be a take-up for that, providing we've had them sort of shifts in the past, providing people are not forced into it, and that we can put forward the right terms and conditions. So positive message from us. We are pushing them back on all aspects of the job security that we're looking for. We're getting to the point now where we believe we can find real progress on those issues. What's central to the future is that the company commit not just to their strategy of growing parcels, but also that they're prepared to use you, our members, as the asset in expanding the role of postal workers. And we've had some really positive conversations where I think they know that we've, in effect, put them under huge pressure on this debate about abandoning the AM delivery period. And our view is that Royal Mail should leverage the current infrastructure. And we think that we're getting somewhere on that debate, and therefore give us the opportunity to develop an expanded role for postal workers, new products, new services that can grow local businesses, grow the UK economy. It's a technical debate in some ways, a detailed debate, but we're confident we're getting somewhere on that. Of course, what that does in turn is that helps with the debate about pushing start and finish times back later. And once again on that, we believe that we are having an impact and that we can definitely limit the way that Royal Mail were originally proposing to push back start and finish time. So we've got a lot more to do on that. And, you know, we're going to continue to press that. One parcel network, as I described earlier on, and this applies to ParcelForce members, Royal Mail members, it's in our interest to have one parcel network, providing the terms and conditions are right. You know, we want to look after our ParcelForce members. We want them to come into Royal Mail. We don't want Royal Mail turned into a ParcelForce model of self-employed workers. Our members in ParcelForce, we're going to look after them in the same way as all members that are part of this. Job security, pay, same with our fleet members. So, you know, we are making progress in those areas. And on flexibility, there's no doubt that the company, following the select committee hearing, where, you know, Simon Thompson said that they're not using technology to monitor people. They don't want to use that in that way. Well, it's been interesting because we're clearly now seeing some of the worst aspects of their proposal on flexibility that was never about flexibility for our members, i.e. that you have a choice as well here. It was all one-way street about total flexibility. We're pushing them back in that area now. And we believe, again, that some of the discussions that have gone on today in the subgroup that's looking at that are positive for us. What we're picking up from Royal Mail is that they're not confident that their strategy is really the right strategy for the future. And where we're getting to here, as I said earlier on, we can visualize an agreement. But look, what we want to do with that, and there's plenty of other areas, sick pay, all of these areas, outsourcing in fleet, you know, we're in discussion on all of this, the CW Royal Mail relationship. And this is the irony, I suppose. In the room, we are pushing Royal Mail back, and we wish sometimes you could see the conversations that we're having and how the company are dealing with that in the room with the union, as opposed to outside the room, they're piling the pressure on and we're having to respond. But the answer here is to reach an agreement. We're going to do everything possible to do that. And what we'd like to commit to tonight as a forerunner for what we'll do in the next week or so is have a further discussion with you with a document maybe that we'll share with you on how we see the agreement that we need, that our members would believe, you know, is a good agreement. And we'll start talking to you about that in more detail, but really interested in your views on some of those areas that we've just been discussing.
Thanks, Dave. It's a really comprehensive update, buddy, and I think members appreciate it. Andy, I mean, obviously Dave's been comprehensive there, but some of the comments, I mean, I'm trying to pick them all up because there's thousands here, but I mean, I think really just give you the chance to reassure our members. So I can see, for example, fleet members saying, is our outsourcing being forgotten about? ParcelForce saying, what about us? And just really to, whilst you, Dave, and the officers are in the room, just to give that chance for you to reassure every function, every business, all on the table, no agreement until it's all sorted.
Yeah, look, the negotiations encompass or incorporate all of our members, irrespective of where they work, whether that's on MDEC, whether that's in the stamps and collectibles in Edinburgh, whether that's in the National Return Centre in Belfast, our customer experience units, the people dealing with call handling customers, wherever you happen to be, whether you're in processing, delivery, distribution, whether you're in a small delivery office or a big mail centre, all of our members, whatever you drive a van with ParcelForce on it or Royal Mail, all of our members are encompassed within this negotiation. Let's talk about pay. We put it to Royal Mail this week that the best and final offer was an offer that took pay up till the end of September this year. We've said to them we think that an agreement should go beyond that into 2024 and maybe even beyond that. So actually, Royal Mail said their head's in that place as well. So, I mean, Dave used the word ironic. Ironically, the best 2 days of negotiations have been the last 2 days. Simon Thompson has been in those talks, and the mood music, as we would describe it, the temperature in the meeting has been very good. But there's still a long way to go. And of course, it is very, very complex. Issues like outsourcing for a fleet. And by the way, if they get away with it, fleet, it won't just end at fleet. It would also take over other areas as well. So that's why it's so important to get an agreement. Look, the bottom line is we are committed to further talks. If Royal Mail's listening to this broadcast now, we are prepared to be in talks every day next week and the week after. So let's be clear, just because we serve notice for another day strike action doesn't mean we're walking away from talks. We are prepared for negotiations and committed to it. My challenge our challenge, Dave and I and the officers and the post executive, our challenge to Royal Mail is to meet us in these talks and find a way through this. Unfortunately, we haven't got any talks planned, although ACAS have indicated that they would be available to support us next week. So look, the bottom line is Royal Mail's got to make a decision. Do they choose to walk away from talks and say they're not going to negotiate because we serve notice, or are they going to get back into those talks and see if we can find a way forward before the 16th and 17th? If they do decide to walk away, that's not a sustainable position, but that's even more reason why members have got to vote yes, because the more yes votes we get, the more we deliver on that, the greater turnout, the more pressure that brings on Simon Thompson and co to get round the table, recognise the strength of feeling and do a deal with the union.
Thank you, Andy. On, buddy. And just to say to the members in the comments, obviously, some of the many of the questions you're raising are things that we should be dealing with at a local level with your reps, with your area reps and with your branches. So I'm sure, we'll get into that. But one of the ones, Dave, that's been raised, I feel we have to come back on, is the customer service points. The callers' offices, which imminently facing mass closures. People are worried sick. If we don't cut across that in time, those jobs are going to be gone. They're going to be closed down. What is the union doing to save those thousands of jobs? And also a vital service to the communities in which all of our members work in.
Well, so we're doing a number of things. Mark Bush, who leads on that for the union, is obviously part of the negotiating team, one of the senior members, and he's also pushing very hard on the customer service points. Royal Mail, they say different things sometimes. When they're out to our members and they're trying to pressurise our members into taking voluntary redundancy, in the room, they're sort of saying, well, we're not really sure on exactly how we're going to move this forward, and we're open to chatting with you. So look, what we're doing is this. We're pushing it in the negotiations because it's the wrong strategy for the company to just abandon these customer links, to communities and to all the customers. But we're also now pushing out politically that message. So next week, we'll be writing to all MPs again, saying where we are with the dispute, but we're particularly referencing the customer service points. Mark's done some good work on that, and our team at headquarters have done some good work on that, and we're going to expose that position in a big way next week with politicians, and I've no doubt that will also be one of the issues that comes up at the recall select committee. So, we haven't given up on that at all. We believe that Royal Mail should be looking to strengthen its links with customers, not abandon them. So, we're going to keep pushing on that, and we'll give you an update on that particular issue. I'm sure Mark will speak to our members directly who are involved in that or through the branches on giving you a full update on where we are on that.
Thanks, Dave. That's brilliant. Andy, I want to just one more question on the negotiations and direction of them, and then I want to move into the ballot if I can. I want to pick up on ParcelForce and what our members in ParcelForce are facing. I think I can put this on screen. You're not going to be able to read this, but it's a ParcelForce communication, so I don't think you guys are going to be able to see it. But basically, in this, ParcelForce is saying to all our members that essentially we're going to have an increase in owner drivers. that there's going to be significant route change and there's going to be significant start and finish time changes. So I wanted to make that point because sometimes ParcelForce will go to our members and say, oh, this dispute's nothing to do with you. It's a Royal Mail dispute. Those proposals look distinctively like, Andy, the exact ones that our members in Royal Mail are facing. I mean, obviously, you've been in the negotiations alongside Davey Robertson and the team of what ParcelForce are trying to do. Just a chance to, you know, as part of those negotiations, make it clear to our ParcelForce members they are very much, you know, under threat in this dispute.
Well, I've seen that document. I saw that yesterday, and Davey Robertson and I discussed it. I mean, look, if any member was in ParcelForce was wavering and was considering voting no or not return their ballot paper, that document is absolute proof of the need to vote yes. That document's a disgrace. It also includes significant job losses as well, Chris. So on one hand, they want to take jobs out. On the other hand, they want to increase owner drivers and then absolutely wreck people's jobs, terms and conditions and attack their earnings as well. But that document's a disgrace. And that's why we serve, one of the reasons why we served notice for strike action yesterday, because that's executive action, that is revisions, that's enforced change by the employer. And it, you know, look, if it was almost like, you know, ironically, it was almost like that's helpful seeing that document because it will reinforce exactly what we've been saying, and it will prove to our members in ParcelForce that they're out to be, you know, management are out to get them and to actually definitely move to a gig economy like Every and DPD, etc. I would finish on this point. Every single member, wherever you happen to work, must recognise that the best and final offer of the 22nd of November last year has been consigned to the dustbin of history. That best and final, remember those words Royal Mail used, the best and final offer has gone. It's gone because we've now got the absolute commitment to no compulsory redundancies, but it's gone just recently with the changes to the allowances as well, the RIS payments and the TPM, etc. So look, we are optimistic if Royal Mail can get back around that negotiating table rather than go off in a sulk. If they do come back to the negotiating table next week, we will meet them there and we will continue to make progress, and hopefully we can reach an agreement sooner rather than later. It's going to be difficult because it's complex, but you know, there was little green shoots of progress early this week, and you know, we remain optimistic.
Thank you, Andy. That's spot on, buddy. Dave, I'm going to bring you in now for the session where we obviously covered quite a lot there in the first two bits. Everything feeding in really, Dave, and Andy, to the reballot. You know, imagining a scenario where, you know, you both talked about the pressure we need to bring to bear on the employers, working back from the select committee on the 22nd, the strike action, which will take place predominantly on the 17th, obviously, and in the afternoon of the 16th. And if we could add on top of that a humongous yes vote and massive turnout in the strike action ballot, it would mean so much. And I can see in the comments here, people reining in, saying that Royal Mail have employed union busters. We can see, you know, posts on Workplace where they've paid some delivery office managers 2 years' pay, £100,000 plus to leave on VR. And then they've employed them back this week on a £40,000 contract for 9 months' work to work as a planner. Like, I mean, outrageous stuff going on, Dave. Just how important is it, though, that every single member casts a vote in the reballot?
Look, you know, we can have these sessions and we can go into all the detail and we can deal with the various issues and concerns that you've got. But the real answer to the whole thing is that you must ensure that you vote yes. I know thousands of you have already voted yes, but that we return a massive yes vote and a massive turnout. It all comes down to that. It is the thing that will change the whole approach. I mean, imagine all of what the CEO's been saying, all of what the company have been trying to do. When we deliver the result on the 16th, that will change the whole basis of this dispute in our favour. That will get us to the point where we can get an agreement. And they know that. Royal Mail understand that completely, because it will be a show of support from the members like no other. You've been through all of the attacks that they're putting on you. You've been through 6 months of a dispute. You've made huge sacrifices. You know that what the company are doing is wrong. You know this is about your future, our industry, and that we're the ones that are protecting the customers. And the only way that we can get to the end game of an agreement that you will deserve and that we can move away, as Andy said, and we already have, from their best and final offer, is if you vote yes, and if you vote in huge numbers yes. Now look, here's the position that we're asking of you. We're asking you to go out, all of you on here tonight, and talk to your friends and colleagues and keep that vote coming in. You do that, and we do get the agreement. We do win this dispute with a deal that will be about change, but be about change that's in the interest of our members and the customers that we serve. So it all comes down to that. There's no other way of putting it.
Thanks, Dave. Spot on. Andy, I want to come. We've got a plan nationally, which we've worked up with yourselves in the offices and the executive. We have a home mailing landing with members next week, a reminder postcard. We've got National Get the Vote Out Day on Tuesday when we were asked every single divisional rep, branch, executive member to be out meeting members next Tuesday, and we're on a meeting in literally hundreds and hundreds of offices, every single one we can. We've got text messaging going on. We've got social media posts going on, videos from the officers next week, a massive communication. But just how important is it next week that our members make that live and breathe? A, attend those meetings. B, put their ballot papers in the post if they haven't already. And as Dave says, critically, become the union, become advocates for the union, and get out there and make sure that every single person in their office has done the same as them and has voted yes.
Well, I think you've just made a really impassioned plea for that yes vote. I mean, look, just let's analyse what's gone on in the past. Broadly speaking, on previous ballots, 1 out of every 4 members hasn't returned the ballot paper. 25% or 20%, and maybe 1 out of 5. We need to ensure that everybody votes. So, we would implore you to speak with your workmates, your colleagues, your friends, your family, and get them to vote and return that ballot paper. We're not going to be complacent about that. We assume that there's already thousands return their ballot paper. We might be preaching to the converted here as such. I'm assuming that many of you on this would have already voted and fundamentally believe in the cause and the need to deliver that yes vote. But we need to go and talk to everybody, because sometimes perhaps people are being a bit quiet. Sometimes maybe they're not as vocal as others. We need to have that conversation. And what I'm pleased to see is that we have got a great comms plan. Our postal executive, our senior field officials will be out in the workplaces, supporting the branches, and we will be engaging with as many members as possible. We want to be in every workplace next week, reminding people to vote and the reasons for voting. And the reasons for voting are very clear. We want a better future, and we want to be able to have a massive influence on terms and conditions and ways of working and your job going forward with job protection. So it's absolutely imperative that people vote yes. And as Dave has said, you deliver that yes vote in the size and scale that we believe you can and will, then that will make a fundamental difference, and that will put immense pressure on Royal Mail politically, through the press and media, but also from the workforce, because it is a vote of no confidence in the leadership of Royal Mail and how they are running this company. It's your chance to have your say, use your voice, return that ballot paper and vote yes.
Thank you, Andy. Brilliant. Dave, I was just looking at, some of the things that we were listing to get ready for the communications with members next week. And just, obviously, what we do as a union is we go out there and we set out the positives, and our members follow us. And I think, we've got a great track record of demonstrating that. But I think at this point of the ballot, it is also almost incumbent on us to say to people who perhaps haven't voted, or people who are considering voting no, that there is an agenda from the company, and to be crystal clear, there isn't a fence to sit on. And if you don't cast your vote or you cast no, Royal Mail automatically take that as you supporting their agenda, and an agenda which means like the removal of the union and people's voice at local level, later starts in all of our functions and businesses, the attacks that we're seeing on the reps and the members, total flexibility, outsourcing we've already seen in fleet, the 2-year, bung that they gave managers and then giving them 40 grand back, all the changing of the senior management's bonuses, and a company leadership that has just been told that it's misled, i.e. lied, to Parliament. And I just wanted to put it to you, Dave, like, how clear can we be with members that Royal Mail take it that you're all right with that if you're not voting in this ballot?
Well, I mean, you've explained all the reasons why, Chris, and we got to say here that there isn't a fence to sit on here. You're either with the union, with your fellow colleagues at work, with all the sacrifices that we've made to see this through and to get the agreement that we all need, or you're with the company, the same people who have attacked you, the same people who are doing things that are outrageous in terms of their personal behaviour, the same people that are affecting people's well-being, the people who are paying themselves rather than you, the people who are doing all of these things. There ain't no fence here to sit on. You've got to make sure that you vote. People ain't going to vote no here. I mean, I think that message is well understood. They ain't got support, Royal Mail. It's people who might be a bit concerned about how we take this forward. And we understand all that. But look, this is the moment where you have to now turn out the vote. It comes down to that. You all know that. That's the reality of the situation. You just think this, when the shareholders, when those managers who are intimidating you, when the public, when the politicians, and when the senior leadership of the company see us deliver on the 16th, a massive yes vote and a massive turnout again, the game's up for them. They will know at that point that the deal's got to be done. And there's, I keep coming back to it, guys, but you've got to do everything possible now. We've tried to give you the fullest possible update tonight. What we want you to do now for us is crack on in the workplace with the debate about getting the turnout, getting the yes vote. We're asking you to be advocates of the union and to get out there and do it. And you make sure you tell people, you can't sit on the fence here because you are signing up effectively to the agenda that they've thrown at our members, and that would be fundamentally wrong.
Hey, sorry, guys. There's a couple of things to tidy up and then come back to Andy and Dave for their closing messages. The first is on replacement ballot papers. If you've ordered one this week, be patient. Obviously, the union doesn't run the ballot. An external company has to run it by law, so it takes some time for them. It has to give them the information, them to get the papers out, etc. But if you've ordered one via a link, they will come. If you haven't ordered one, then we'll put the link in the chat. But please, speak to your branch. Make sure you get your ballot paper. Make sure you cast your vote. There'll also be a link, by the way, for replacement ballot papers on the home mailing that's coming out. And lots and lots of little smaller questions, I would say, to our branches and to our divisional reps, etc. Get amongst the comments, pick those off, and we'll do some of that after as well. I think it's been an excellent session. I'm going to give our union's leaders the chance to close it up, starting with you, Andy. Your final message to members.
It's been a great session, I think, and hopefully the members have got a lot out of this. I'll just finish with this. There is no Royal Mail without our members, but there can certainly be a Royal Mail without Salman Thompson and his leadership team. We need to change the direction of this company, and you can do that by delivering that yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Spot on, buddy. Dave, your final message to our members watching tonight.
Well, first of all, I think it's a big thanks to you all to come on tonight again. I hope you have a good weekend. And, you know what needs to happen now. No sitting on the fence anymore. Please get out and make sure for your future, for the future of our industry, that we fought so hard for, and for making sure that we get the right agreement. The only way that's going to be achieved is us getting out that yes vote. And I know you're going to go at that next week. So thanks very much.
Right, thanks, Dave. Thanks, Andy. Brilliant. Thank you all to the 18,500 of you who've tuned in tonight. It's brilliant numbers on a Friday. As I said at the start, I'm sure you've got lots better things to be listening to do than listen to us, but you've turned up in your numbers. You've done a fantastic job. We hope you've had a decent session. As both of our officers have said, the job now is to get the vote out. Good luck, everyone, and we'll see you next week.